Good evening. So we go into the final day, or we actually had the final day of this. And by the way, we need to put that in quotations, final day, as far as that word's considered. Um, but however, uh, we did our last flight out, and nobody's being real clear about how many people are really left over there. And, many times I myself have heard those individuals referred to as, well, they didn't refer to them as anything. They referred to, they referred to some people as those wanting to go home. It was very strange, the language that they used. This entire thing is strange. This morning, I watched a Pentagon briefing, and you could tell that dude was very apprehensive about answering much of anything. You could tell he didn't want to be up there. You could tell that he had to attempt to play off one of the biggest screw-ups in U.S. military history. And very likely hundreds, could even go into the thousands, of individuals are left stranded there. I heard somebody else today say that they heard that they were actually cutting the tongues out of the translators that helped the U.S. government when they find them. Well, that's interesting because, well, guess what? They've got our biometric equipment to be able to identify the individuals that worked with the U.S. government. How do you like them apples? So, I think what we're about to see is just a beginning. I think we're about to see the beginning of a slaughter. And unfortunately, Americans, individuals that helped Americans, and I'm sure citizens of many other nations don't stand a chance. All the while, the same government that just tucked tail and likely left all those people to die want you. Sobering thought. It's interesting at what all they're doing with this situation that went on on January 6th. What all avenues they're using, or going down, I should say. And then we've got the, thing that they would love to put in all of us. All I can say is be ready. That's all I can say. Because that hammer's coming down. That hammer's coming down. If there can be that much absence, and I'm just going to say dereliction of duty, in the highest seat in the United States of America. Well, quite frankly, we're screwed. Just be ready. The biggest, most important way to be ready in all reality is make sure you've got enough food. At least to get you by a hump. A good hump, not an easy hump. Well, I guess I should say a bad hump in that case, huh? Anyway, quit making me think about gutter things. Anyway, man, this is one hell of a situation. At least I can enjoy a hell of a good cup of coffee while I talk with you about it. That I can still do. Unfortunately, can't do it on our home channel, but I will be uploading these shows later, so once we can function again in our normal society, since we've been exiled for a week out of our real society, now we're in our fake society that hardly anyone knows about. So, why? Because we can't let them know over on everybody else's society. So we've been set outside the camp. Ah. Hmm. How do you screw up that bad? And I'm referring to Afghanistan. Do you realize that the United States effectively armed the Taliban on a level more than other little nations, neighboring nations, essentially. I believe what I read said neighboring countries. I don't necessarily think that means an adjoining country, but a Middle Eastern, one of those countries over there. I think there were a couple of examples given, but none of them are pinging me in the head. My apologies. It's crazy. Oh, and don't forget, they want to take away your semi-automatic weapons. This country is taking its last breaths if nobody starts giving it CPR. And like I've said for a long time now, got to be from the bottom up. Even if it starts with you. Got to be from the bottom up. Because nothing else will work. Especially in this particular situation, absolutely nothing else will work. Because anything else would be waiting for somebody else to save you. I don't know how much you trust society or government or anything else for that matter, but I'm not going to trust anybody else to save my ass. Sorry about that. It's gonna be a heck of a road. Gonna be a heck of a road. I haven't, and I'm just saying I haven't. I don't know if they've said anything on the matter or not. I'm sure some things came out, but I don't recall putting out a headline. I haven't heard of any like fatalities. Not to say there are none. When it comes to Hurricane Ida, I don't know. And I could have put out a headline and just kind of seen Hurricane Ida and put the headline out. You know what I mean? That certainly happens. Had a moderately busy day, so there were definitely periods where I put out headlines where I didn't pay real super close attention. So, anyway, devastating storm. Heard 6 hours is what I heard it lasted as a Category 4 hurricane after landfall, which is insane, crazy. So that is something notable. From my understanding, there are a lot of damage. A lot of damage. I know I saw one news report that was talking about several buildings just in like New Orleans that were just reduced to rubble. And I thought that was very interesting. So, I'm telling you, I don't know. I think one of the articles said something like it could be like a month or over a month to restore all the power. So I don't know. I do know that it took down a major transmission line and it went down into the Mississippi River, and that's essentially what put all of New Orleans out of power. So until they get that line taken care of, New Orleans just isn't going to have power. Now, I also saw somebody say something about how New Orleans had put most of their electrical, their power lines underground, which isn't surprising to me at all. So if that's the case, for the most part, once that main line gets repaired and anything in between that would be stopping it in the different, circuits, then it won't take long to work things out from there. And that's there. I don't know the extent of the damage anywhere else, but being that New Orleans started putting everything underground, that's going to make a massive difference in how long it takes for them to get stuff back going to those individuals that are on those circuits. So Diet coffee is just tasting so good. So yeah, and we're, if I'm not mistaken, kind of at the beginning of hurricane season. So I know there's several. The last that I saw a video that BP Earthwatch did, he showed that there were several storms that were out in the Atlantic, and I don't know, there's like 3 or 4 storms I believe that I saw on that map, and so something to pay attention to. I know he I know he did note one of them and said it could be one to watch. So we'll see. Like I said, we're at the beginning of hurricane season, and not the end. This Hurricane Ida came just at the very beginning. So we'll see what's to come. As I've been saying for a long time, you can expect the weather to become more extreme on all accounts. Extreme on the heat side, extreme on the cold side, extreme on the storm side, whether it be snow, whether it be, rain, whether it be tornadoes, hurricanes, everything is going to get more and more out of whack as we progress through this polar shift. So, pole shift, I should say. So, just the way it is. Science itself has made several remarks about, I should say scientists, about how the Earth is in its biggest wobble that we've been in, that our civilization has been in. And so that should be an indicator to people that something's amiss. Well, if you look at how the North Pole has traveled in a line towards Russia, you will know that it's made a considerable trek from where the magnetic pole used to be to where it is today. And it's going to continue moving south towards Russia until it hits about the 40-degree mark. And this is the best estimate. And then that's when the actual shift is going to take place. I can't tell you when. I have no idea. I'm not privy. But you think all this other stuff that's going on, you think the stuff with the government that's going on, ain't none of that going to make a difference when that happens. So, I don't know when that for sure is going to be. I don't think anyone does, but I am a firm believer that that pole shift is what's described in the book of Revelation. I got a sneaky suspicion for many, many reasons. Anywho, that's what I'm saying. Prepared. Don't stop getting ready. And so many important things. I also tell people, don't forget about light. Multiple forms of light, including oil and wick. The basic form of light. Anyway, let me go ahead and make it an easy, quick night. I ain't got a whole lot for you, as far as what I have to say. Just is what it is. Today there was a lot of news, but at the same time, it wasn't really overloaded. So, I guess myself, I'm at one of those moments where I'm kind of waiting to see what happens. Like, I'm waiting to see what happens over in Afghanistan, because I'm sure that we'll be hearing about something. And, of course, here on the home front as well. We've got several situations to keep a close eye on. And, I'll tell you what, again, I don't see that things are gonna let up. I don't think they are. We'll see. Let me have a sip of coffee, couple of vapes, I'll read the headlines, I'll get out of here, make a super quick, easy night of it. And I believe our thing said 2 more days left, so let's see. I don't know if that means we'll be back Thursday. I guess that means we'll be back Thursday night. I reckon we'll see. So, I don't think it'll be Wednesday night. I think it'll be Thursday night. So, I don't know. By the time most people see this, too late. Alright. Yay, we made it. I promised myself a few vapes now. I certainly don't want to disappoint myself. All right. Let's see. Catastrophic transmission damage. New Orleans plunges into darkness after Hurricane Ida leaves city with no power. And again, this is that I put out this morning, so that includes, all of the headlines from overnight. So, several rockets target Kabul airport. U.S. military activate missile defenses to repel attacks, says reports. U.S. military says Kabul strike targeting ISIS-K may have led to additional casualties amid reports that family of 9 perished. I also heard that there's a possibility that those 9 people were largely a family of translators that were on their way to get out. That it wasn't any of the ISIS-K folks. Now, when the dude from the Pentagon was asked the question today, how come you will not name the ISIS-K person that you targeted and killed, because they won't name the person. They won't name the person. Don't you find that interesting? That they won't name the person? I find that interesting, because normally they plaster that all over the news media. Why not this time? Were they misled on some intel? Were they told suicide bombers were headed in and it was really a family that was helping them? It's disgusting. And again, I have a feeling this is the beginning. I think the real horror starts now with those that are left over. India hires Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan for work on nation's biggest IPO, says reports. Israel offers COVID-19 vaccine booster shots to all residents 12 and older, says Green Pass will expire 6 months after jabs. Global plantation of Slavelandia. RT's Kaiser report looks at fat cats getting fatter by tying a monetary policy to fighting COVID. Nobody would be doing that. Israel agrees to strengthen Palestinian economy in first top-level talks since 2010, held after PM Bennett's return from the U.S. Russia's space agency postpones rocket testing after donating almost all its liquid oxygen to COVID-19 patients in hospitals. Gas prices in Europe surged past $590 per 1,000 cubic meters. Pay attention to that. I don't know if we're going to see something like that happen in the United States or not, like a huge spike in gas prices. So I'm going to be honest with you. I expect it. Why? Because they convinced largely most of the population to go to gas, right? And so a lot of people did, cleaner, cheaper, right? Well, how much you want to bet that they're going to say it's not good for the environment? Carbon emissions. And that everybody should be electric. How do you like that? But I don't think just coming out and doing that would work so well. But jacking the price of gas up so much so that people would just go to electric, well, then not only do they get what they want, but they also make a hell of a lot of money in the process. Because all those people that have to pay those gas prices, those natural gas prices, until they can afford to install an electric system. Isn't that insane? The thought of that insane? But I have seen reports that purport that they are looking to have an entirely electric future. No fossil well, minimal fossil fuels, right? So here's the thing. Natural gas, even propane, comes from fossil fuels. So we'll see. We'll see. New Zealand reports first death linked to Pfizer vaccine, extends lockdown in Auckland despite falling COVID-19 infections. Japan suspends Moderna COVID vaccine after another 1 million doses found contaminated, bringing total to 2.6 million doses. That's contaminated. Astronauts find another crack on aging International Space Station, this time in original 1998 launched Russian module Zarya. Or Zarya. I guess it's Zarya. Are we Zarya yet? Middle East's largest aluminum producer eyes IPO listing amid skyrocketing profits. Feeling betrayed by Biden? Question mark. Ukrainian politicians blast American deal over Nord Stream 2 pipeline as major security threat for Kiev. I don't give a damn about Kiev, and I don't think we should give a damn about Kiev. Let Kiev worry about Kiev. How's that sound? Peak end of empire, Met Police skewered for reportedly considering new woke gender-neutral uniform for officers. So now they want to make a woke gender-neutral uniform for the officers. Well, they love that. France's economy will fully recover from pandemic lows by year's end, says France finance ministry. I'll get it out. It is France's finance ministry. Biden-Zelensky meeting postponed again after Ukrainian president blasts Western states for not sending leaders to Crimea summit. All these countries need to take care of themselves. EU Foreign Affairs Chief proposes new reactive force as Afghan crisis highlights bloc's military shortfalls. UN Refugee Agency warns Afghanistan is facing a greater humanitarian crisis as countries end evacuation efforts. BBC plagued by partisanship, ? Row over appointment of left-wing editor continues to fuel debate about broadcasters' impartiality. ISIS claims responsibility for rocket attack on Kabul airport as White House says evacuation continues unhindered. Let's see. Americans are making dozens of attempts to extradite country citizens from other states, Moscow claims. Toxic and impossible. Hostile school board meetings have members calling it quits. Russia and Hungary agree on terms of Russian gas supply for 15 years. More than 50 people arrested in Odessa after right-wing extremists attack police and participants at annual LGBT Pride March. U.S. not so open. Grand Slam gets underway in New York, but vaccinated only fans rule causes grumbles. WHO, deeply worried about high COVID transmission rate in Europe, says 236,000 more could die by December. China bans exams for 6 and 7-year-olds over concerns about physical and mental health. Can you imagine that? And we've got kids that are beginning education at like 3 and 4. Baltic nations must get new anti-aircraft rockets to avoid violence in Eastern Europe and contain Russia, says Estonian president. Showering with biological men, female inmates in the U.S. and U.K. recount sexual abuse from trans prisoners. WHO says third vaccine dose not a luxury, despite earlier calling for a moratorium on COVID-19 booster shots. So now they're saying it's a must, essentially. Thanks to U.S. abandoning weapons in Afghanistan, Taliban fighters now better armed than Ukrainian army. Okay, Ukraine was one of them. Russia, says Russia's defense minister. Pentagon knew about Kabul suicide bombing hours in advance, report claims, but troops on the ground say they weren't protected. Another close Navalny associate leaves Russia. Spokeswoman Yarms travels to Finland after legal troubles, Interfax reports. WHO delivers first medical shipment to Taliban-controlled Afghanistan after opening air bridge. Hostages tied to cars and bomb traps laid. Heavily armed bank robbers turned Brazilian city into battle zone. Sounds like Grand Theft Auto or something there. Police descend on London's iconic Tower Bridge after XR activists blocked the landmark. Witnesses tell RT of pandemonium as U.S. troops fired indiscriminately into crowd after Kabul airport suicide bombing. EU takes U.S. off safe travel lists and backs travel restrictions. State mask bans face federal civil rights inquiries. UNICEF says 7 children were killed in Kabul drone strike that U.S. said targeted ISIS-K terrorists. Chinese government sees threat of addiction among nation's teen gamers, sets out new restrictions on when under 18s can play online. Resorts burn and fire tornadoes rage in blaze-ravaged California as entire city ordered to evacuate. A man mauled by police dog during arrest at Newcastle protest against UK COVID-19 vaccine passports. Let's see. RT reporter in Kabul says Taliban celebrates victory as last American troops leave Afghanistan. Phone talks, chats of pro-Trump GOP and family may be preserved as January 6 committee demands hundreds of records from companies, says CNN. Let's see. Last troops exit Afghanistan, ending America's longest war. Power outages in Louisiana to last a month after Hurricane Ida. Let's see. I was recruited by UK intelligence to spy on ISIS and got thrown under the bus, claims ex-militant awaiting trial in Dagestan. Biden praises U.S. military for success of Afghanistan airlift, says diplomacy will rescue those left behind. Diplomacy, huh? Psaki says deaths of 13 U.S. troops don't take place of all the progress made in Kabul as Biden takes flack for Afghan nightmares. U.S. military's Afghanistan commander admits that hundreds of Americans left behind, but praises Taliban as helpful in the withdrawal. The Taliban celebrates last American troops fleeing Afghanistan, firing more ammo than in actual combat, says an RT correspondent. Telling, huh? Alright, I am going to get out of here and chillax on an early night, and we'll be back again tomorrow. So again, I don't know for sure if it'll be Wednesday or Thursday that we'll be back on the Bat channel, but well, as soon as we can, we'll be there. Anyway, I am out of here. God willing, we'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit, and shalom.